Question 2, which was asked in Arabic. Whether it is change of vision, is it crisis of vision or crisis of personalities? It is both. It is both. Because we have told you clearly, and in actual fact, this came from a report. If some of you would remember that the leaders of the SPLM were asked to go and thank the people of South Sudan in year 2012. I was told to go to Lakes. The Secretariat General assigned me to go to Lakes. I didn't choose to go to Lakes. And in actual fact, it was the Secretariat in Lakes that informed me that I have been asked to head the SPLM delegation for the Thanksgiving in Lakes. So I had to confirm with them. Is that true? They said yes. Am I going alone? They said, you have a secretariat. It was not only me alone, others were asked to go to the rest of the states. I went to Lakes twice. In the first visit, I spent 8 days visiting all the counties. And in one of the counties, I visited most of the Payams. The people were speaking. What we heard was the SPLM has lost vision and direction. So my committee from the Secretariat was taking notes. I told them to write the report. When they wrote the report and they brought it to my office, I looked at it. I said, yes, I have heard all this. But is it the verdict of Lakes alone that the SPLM has lost vision? I was so concerned. I said we must go back to the state and call the whole Secretariat and the State Liberation Council and the State Caucus so that they listen to the report. I didn't want to take a report which they might not appreciate. When our report was read, we were surprised by the Secretariat that they have also a report. The State Secretariat. When I told them, read your report, it wasn't different from the report that was written by my delegation from what they heard verbatim in Lakes State. Now, I said, okay, in this case, let's have one joint report. Unfortunately, some of us don't face facts. The SPLM chairperson of Lakes refused to go to that mission on the pretext that he was chairing the assembly meetings as acting speaker. And in the second, when I said the report must be read in front of the SPLM leadership in Lakes, whether it is the executive or the state or the party, he also created a mission, escaping what the people are saying. I thought my report was the only bad report. To be surprised, when all the reports were combined, they didn't differ from the report of Lakes. So it's the verdict of Members of the SPLM. So it's the people, it's the members of the SPLM that have recognized that the SPLM has lost vision and direction. Therefore, vision doesn't come without the people. Vision is driven by the leadership, and the people follow. If the political bureau is not going to be held, or you meant the National Liberation Council?
The National Liberation Council.
Well, in our statement we said we are calling on the chairman to convene the Politburo. First, before the Secretary General was suspended, Comrade Paganamum, he had asked the chairman to call the Politburo. Says the chairman can call the political bureau or the National Liberation Council on his own initiative or on the recommendation of the Secretary General, or 1/3 of the members of the Politburo, or 1/3 of the National Liberation Council, if it is National Liberation Council. He has asked the chairman to call it 8 times. The chairman ignored it. When others tried to persuade him after, and I give credit to Nial Deng Nial, who 1/3 of the Politburo will ask you to call the Politburo. You better call the Politburo. And then he asked Comrade Dan to call, this time not Politburo, but the dismissed ministers. We were also, although I'm not a minister, I'm vice president, I was asking questions. Will I be there if it is going to be for the ministers? The ministers were also ready for that meeting. When the day came, Comrade Chairman denied knowledge of the meeting, of the agenda of the meeting, when it were his instructions. Now, the day he spoke opening this SPLM leadership office on the 15th of November, there was a scheduled meeting of the National Liberation Council, of which we all prepared. But to be surprised with his statement where he said, all the structures are dysfunctional, all the structures have dissolved themselves, except his own office. Where on earth would his office be functional when the rest are not? Where on earth the other institutions will be dissolved and his office will not be dissolved? And also added injury to the insult by saying he has now all the powers even to form a committee. In this constitution, the structures of the SPLM dissolve when at each level, when the ordinary session of a Congress is on, they dissolve. Once the ordinary session is called, before it ends, they are also reconstituted. This is the SPLM constitution. There is nowhere where the chairperson or any group of people would dissolve structures of the SPLM. So if Comrade chair is going to say, well, I'm not going to call the Politburo. Those of us who will gather the courage to sit and say, can we sign 7 of us? One third of 19 is 7. We have not yet said to do that. To say, Comrade Chair, we want the Politburo to be called. We are now only calling it, breaking our silence. If he doesn't call it, 7 of us will sit and say, Comrade Chair, let's call the Politburo. The Politburo still has to discuss the 4 documents. They were not conclusive. The Minister of Information and Broadcasting was actually our rapporteur. The last political Beirut meeting, he was going to clean it up, the constitution, and then the manifesto. And then we will review it. After that, a vote, hopefully, or consensus is reached for those documents to be taken to the National Liberation Council. This has not been done. And therefore, we are calling for the chairperson to call the Politburo. If he doesn't, we resort to the Constitution. We resort to the Constitution. 1/3 can ask him to call it. Last, well, we want the National Liberation Council to be held. We have been longing for it. The last 5 years, it will be the 3rd Liberation Council, when at least our Constitution says at least once a year. So in the 5 years, if the 9th scheduled meeting is going to take place, this will be the 3rd. We're falling short in our obligations. So we'll use our Constitution to ensure that the SPLM is revitalized and refocused and goes in its correct direction. I think these were the 3 questions.